Hey guys, welcome to the third part in our live demonstration where we're going to be completing our AI visual product using actual real assets, and we're also going to be doing a lot of AI assets. So we've already completed and created something inside of After Effects that looks pretty awesome. So if we go back to After Effects, I went back and I redid every single fruit that we had going on there. And as you can see here, I'll zoom in a little bit better. There we go. It just kind of bounces through, and then I added our blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, and bananas. And then I basically created another one, and we're going to walk through this, that has an original logo that we created using AI, but also giving it parameters and colors and things like that so that it knew what we wanted. And then we also added this whole fruit explosion behind it using our real assets. So pretty awesome. And now it kind of creates this like seamless transition where we have the fruit falling, and then we go right from the fruit falling into the actual original harvest juice container. This in itself right here could be a nice little 15-second, 20-second social media ad. But I went ahead and we went into Google Flow, and I made some more scenes utilizing the same assets we had with the different fruits. And as you can see here, I went to town. We had a good time of like fruit explosions. We went through some logo changes. It wasn't great. Initially, I really wanted it to have so like where fruit was splashing, and I had to go through a bunch of different iterations. It did take, I will say, probably about 2 hours to do all of this. And that's just the prompting part of it, kind of trying to figure out what worked, what didn't work. And as we come through here, we can see that the evolution of it as it did what I wanted to do, but this is the thing with AI. You have to really start articulating exactly what you want with specifics of like a berry touches another berry, explodes off to the left, and another berry touches another one, explodes off to the right. You have to put the numbers in there. You have to make sure you get what you need, and that's ultimately where we ended up. So created something like this. So this is getting better. We've got like splashes of water coming off of our fruit, but the bananas doesn't look too real there. This looks pretty damn good right here, utilizing the fruit that we had created. And then the same thing here, here, and here. Ultimately, I went with one of these shots here as kind of like a filler for our video. And then I went in and I started going into Midjourney. And Midjourney was great for a little bit of the I would say, creating the logo. However, I will say that I actually ended up not going with the logo that we created inside of Midjourney, just because I didn't really like the quality of it. I hate to say it. Midjourney does a great job with photos, does a great job with the video translation. It just doesn't do a great job with text. As you can see in a lot of these, like that, it doesn't get the word original up here at all. You get these like runic kind of looking letters. It's not real. And the same thing pretty much for all of it. You get like weird looking G's. There's little umlauts and accent marks over some of the words. So kind of an issue there. And then I tried to create something that I thought would be fun inside of Midjourney. It didn't go well. But that's the whole thing with AI, is the fact that you have to do all of this stuff and keep trying at it and seeing what happens and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't work. And it's just, I spent probably another 40 minutes or so going through each of these, kind of figuring out which one worked best. Ultimately, I didn't like any of them, and I did everything inside of Google Flow. And when I came into Google Flow, I told it to do one thing. So I actually gave it this logo background. Let me find it. So it's right here. This is our, actually see if I can open that up. It's not letting me open it. Well, as you can see, I can hover over it. This is an original logo that I created, and I thought it looked really nice. And then I have some shots of some jars. And basically what I told AI is I came into here, and the prompt for this was, camera pulls back to reveal 3 bottles of juice with the product label Original Harvest Juice wrapped around the bottles as strawberries, bananas, blackberries, and blueberries explode out from behind each other, or each of the juice containers. And then I said bright, bold lighting. The background color is green and yellow gradient with a cinematic movement. And honestly, it worked out pretty well. I think this is the one that I ended up going with. It really did a nice job. And really exemplified exactly what I wanted. We had the logo, which was right there. That's the Original Harvest logo. And then if we zoom in, we can see that it's the same logo, it's the same words, and it looks pretty damn good. And I'm not too mad with it. But if we look at the other stuff, you can see it didn't take all of the original logo for this one. It then put the logo in the background of this one. There was no logo in this one, but it did use the juice containers that I was looking for, so that's exactly what we wanted to do. And again, we're merging real assets together inside of this program. So I'll play through a couple of these for you guys. But it's really interesting to see what happens here. I spent a total of about 400 credits, which is a couple bucks to do that. And then we've got these up here where, again, kind of the same problem with Midjourney. We have, text that doesn't actually read as it is. Orgelhust juice. That's not right. And then this just gave us original juice with the logo, but didn't give us the wording that we wanted, and I didn't really like that. But this just kind of shows you how many iterations you have to go through to get it right. In this particular instance, we actually got it right on the very, I think, second one right over here, and then ended up making, 8 more after that. And it really, it just depends on, the timing, the wording, and how things go. But I really enjoyed this one that we got down here. That works really well. And then I came back and said, okay, well, I need some filler shots because we need about 10 to 15 seconds of shots at the beginning before or when the narration starts. And then I kind of went through back and then did more fruit explosions. And then I started using more colorful language like water droplets and mist and fruit explosions. I basically told it that it needed 20 to 30 pieces of fruit to fill the screen. And it did that. And it used all of the elements that we had in the video. So if I click here, you can see that we have our blueberries, strawberries, and bananas and blackberries. All of that stuff is in here. And it did a pretty damn good job. And this is one that I ended up using. It was actually the very first one, and I thought it did a really great job. And there's a couple other ones that did a really good job too, but the spacing wasn't necessarily there. I really liked the depth of this first one. And then the same problem with the other one, the juice just didn't work out too well. And then, I kind of carried on, and then I also figured out that I needed to basically compartmentalize the other fruits that we had in the scene. So I went through and made some simple just strawberries and blueberries dropping onto a wooden cutting board, close-ups of that, and just a bunch of these other things just going through there. And then I did the same thing with blueberries. It does a great job of retaining that beautiful texture and the colors and the shape that you actually get from the original asset, and it keeps it all in there. And honestly, it's kind of mind-blowing what this does now. But I was like, okay, well, I want to make sure that they're bouncing, so I came through here and we did some of this. This looks a little too fake and a little too hokey. And then these look far more realistic in the sense of like their movement and the bounce in the water. Ended up using a couple of these shots in here. I think I went with this one ultimately at the end. It looked a little more realistic, like this little shot here. And yeah, so we did all of that. And that basically would constitute the entirety of the shoot. So I would go through, pick out the best one, start putting it into the editor. And now that brings me into DaVinci Resolve. And after we went through and upscaled all of these, because I went back into our video AI from Topaz Labs. And there we go. So I had all of these in here, and basically I went through and upscaled all of them so that they have the highest possible quality, and they look honestly super beautiful inside of DaVinci Resolve. And then once that was done, we were out of After Effects. And then we come right back into here. And this is the little demo I made. So the next thing that we're going to do is talk about the narration. And I'm going to mute this track because let's just pretend we haven't done the narration yet. I did go through Artlist. Artlist is a great place for music. I didn't use any AI-generated music. This is an actual person's music. Again, I do think that there are certain things inside of the production that should be humanistic in nature. And I think that, music and supporting artists is important, much as like it's important to support any visual artist as well. But so here's what I have so far. You can check it out. And honestly, the shots really like line up very nicely. The water, little transition. This is our After Effects piece. Comes in, our berries flow by. The banana wipes the screen. And there we go. We've got a delicious original harvest juice ad. But we're missing one thing. We need all that narration that we had in our script. So what I'm going to do now is we were going to go back into another, yet another subscription that you'll have to get is what I would suggest is 11 Labs. They definitely have the best AI voice emulator. I'll say that it's out there right now. And it really gives you a lot of ability to tweak it, look through different artists, find that voice, find that style that you want. They literally just today, again, like I'm telling you, AI changes on a daily basis. They just added a new V3 alpha model that sounds so humanistic. It's absolutely insane. But what I do like about 11 Labs is they actually use real broadcasters and real voiceover artists. They all get paid for every use, so you're not copywriting you're not using copywritten vocals. These are licensed vocals, and they're just put into a way or arranged in a way that sound like the words that you want, and it's pretty great. So there's a lot into this program, and we could probably start a whole tutorial on that. But what I would say is play around with it. It's very easy to use. One thing here is I really wanted like a female voice, and I wanted it to be bright and beautiful. And right here, this is the one that we got. And here's our script. So really all you do is you'll come into, here's the home page of 11 Labs. You can look through the voices.
Hey there, I'm so excited to provide.
These cars produced in limited quantities and priced.
And if you...
Hi, it's so nice to meet you. Whether you're here to relax, learn something new, or just enjoy a good...
So if you go through and you listen to the different libraries that they have for the different voices, you'll hear that they're really good voices, and some of them are high quality, some of them are low quality, some of them do sound AI. But for the most part, you'll choose whichever voice that you want, you'll add it to your library, and then you'll come into text-to-speech. So this is the script. And again, it's really simply laid out. It says, bright, beautiful, bursting with fruit, packed with vitamins, minerals, and natural energy. This is more than juice. It's vitality in every sip. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and bananas, blended fresh, made for everyone. Drink the energy of the fruit. Drink original harvest juice. Now, that's not how I would want to read that, but that is the script as we have here. So that we can get what we wanted. I wanted a female voice, and this is Arabelle. So this is the voice that I picked for it. Here's what she sounds like.
She tore her gaze away from her ruined footwear, still very much grieving the loss.
Now, I just liked it because it was kind of subtle, and when you pair it with the actual music, it gets a little more exciting. One thing you can do here when you are writing is putting in these little bracketed explainers. I'm not really sure what you want to call them, like actuation points. But it allows the algorithm to know how you want the voice to be read. So you could say excited, sad, depressed, and speeding up. You could do like a speed of 1.2, which is 1 times faster than the normal speed. And then you come back down here and you say generate speech. And so it's generating two different speeches.
Bold, bursting with fruit. Packed with vitamins, minerals, and natural energy. This is more than juice. It's vitality in every sip. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and bananas. Blended fresh, made for everyone. Drink the energy of fruit. Drink original harvest juice.
I want some original harvest juice. Yeah. So there it is right there. And then we've got another generation.
Bright, bold, bursting with fruit. Packed with vitamins, minerals, and natural energy.
And so those are pretty good. Realistically, what I would do is probably spend another hour or two just going through here and really refining it and doing exactly what I want to do. But just for this course, you kind of get the gist of how it goes. And I will say that this process does take some time. Much like the process when you are doing the iterations of video, you'll want to go back multiple times. You'll want to change a little bit of the prompting for the text-to-speech just so that you get a better read out of it. But you can also go back inside of DaVinci Resolve. You can tweak it just a little bit by speeding it up. You can then clip the audio, so if you want it to be spread out or close together, you have that ability to do that. But anyway, so we did this. I generated the speech, and then you basically just come here to the download button. I'll hit download, and it downloads that audio file, and bam, we have ourselves narration at our fingertips. So now we come back into here. I imported the audio narration clip to it, and now if we come back, this is going to be our final product. And honestly, it's pretty damn amazing. So in all, this entire thing took probably about 4 to 5 hours to actually put together if you're taking all the time it took to generate everything, go inside of After Effects, do a little bit of masking out and camera work there, and then inside of DaVinci Resolve, quite honestly, this took about 5 minutes, 10 minutes at the most. And I wouldn't constitute this as a final version, but I would say that's a great rough draft to deliver to your client and say, hey, this is the approach that we're going. What do you see that you'd like to change? What do you see that you'd like to add? Yada, yada, yada. But this is the power that AI has. So we literally didn't leave the studio at all to produce this. We used real assets. We used language to create everything that we're seeing here. And this is the final output. Get ready for it.
Right, bold, bursting with fruit. Packed with vitamins, minerals, and natural energy, this is more than juice. It's vitality in every sip. Strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, and bananas, blended fresh, made for everyone. Drink the energy of fruit. Drink Original Harvest Juice.
And that, boys and girls, is a finished product. I can't believe it. Like, this is incredible where we've come just in the past couple of years. And this is why I think AI technology is so impressive. But again, this is something that you'll have to determine whether or not that you want to use it in your workflow. You could easily go out and film all of this stuff with your camera in your studio and lighting. But let's just say you're on a tight deadline. You have one day to complete this project, and they're going to give you $5,000, but you need $6,000. But if you did this with AI, you only need to spend $2,000. So then you'll get a profit share of about $3,000 if you wanted to do that. Not too shabby, not too bad. So I'm really impressed with this. Again, it all comes down to authenticity and making sure that you're doing this ethically. I tend not to do any of the text to prompt. I only do ingredients to prompt. That way that everything that I'm creating in the scene is something that actually exists in real life, something that either A, I shot myself, B, someone from my team shot it, or C, I licensed it from another stock photo manufacturer or another artist. And that's the case in all of these. So really what we're seeing here is just the evolution of what's going to be coming to the future of cinematography, to spec work, to social media campaigns, to everything. And you can do it in a way that looks absolutely professional, and it looks like it was really done in the studio, but it doesn't take as much time, and you can put all of the creativity in actually forming your scenes, and then you get this really beautiful result. And quite honestly, I'd be very proud of this if I was giving it to a client. I think that they would love it. Obviously, there'd be some tweaks. We'd do some sound design, other things like that. But this is a really, really, really great starting point. And yeah, that's where we are. So the next thing for this, after we do this, is since we've already basically done all of the AI upscaling for each individual clip, we could go back and do it again and throw it through the video AI from Topaz Labs. And that's really what I'd recommend doing too, because then you'll just heighten that quality up one more notch. And I am editing all this 4K footage in a 1080p timeline. That way it's actually compressing it and downsampling it so it's getting even better quality. And then I could even go through here if I wanted to and do color correction. I could do all of my grading if I needed it. And you really still get a wide gamut of pixels to work with, which is pretty impressive. And we can change the gamma. Look at this, drop that down. We can lift it down, make it a little more contrasty. And really that's kind of the power of this whole system, is you can make it anything that you want, and you can edit it just as if you were editing regular footage. And I think that's kind of a testament to how impressive utilizing AI alongside real assets is, and that's the future of what we're at right now. So first, I just want to say thank you guys so much for joining me. There's going to be a couple more demonstrations after this. I hope you enjoy them. They're going to be on different topics of utilizing live action footage with AI, bringing still photos to life with AI, bringing characters to life with AI, and I'm really excited, and I hope you continue to watch this and grow with me as we all grow together with AI. But that's it for today. Have a great time. Thanks. Cheers. Hey everybody, welcome back. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through Google Flow from start to end. I'm going to show you the best prompts, all of the features and functionalities of the program, and how you can start creating AI out of your own content pretty much right out of the gate. So let's get started. So if we come to Google Flow, which is at Google Labs, you can come here, you see the main page. They just updated this now so that you can start with 100 free credits, which is great. So if you want to start creating for free just to try it out, you can do that. I will say 100 credits is really nothing. One VO3 model credit is 100, so you pretty much only get one generation of iterations to choose from. However, if you go in and choose their plan, I would go with the Pro plan for $35 a month, and you can then tack on another 12,000 credits if you want to, or 12,500 credits, and that's going to give you the most bang for your buck and really allow you to explore what Flow has to offer. And I will say that you're going to run through probably about 5,000 to 10,000 credits pretty quickly if you're working on a project or if you're doing a lot of iterations. If you do end up going with the Ultra mode, though, or the Ultra plan for Google Flow, you'll end up getting VO3 fast for free the entire time when you do text to prompt, or you'll do iterations and frames a generation with only 10 credits, which is fantastic. So you basically get a 10-to-1 ratio if you choose the Ultra plan, which for $250 isn't bad, but I'll be honest with you, it's way too much money. I would say keep it under $50 and you'll be fine. But only get the $250 plan if you want the free use of YouTube, where you get YouTube Red. You get 30 terabytes of space for Google, and a couple other little features. But really, I don't think it's worth it to get the $250 version. So anyway, let's jump into Flow and see how we get started. So if you're new to Flow, it's pretty easy. You'll just come to the main screen. You'll say Create with Flow. And that's going to bring us to our product page, where it'll show basically everything we've already created and the projects that we're working on. We're going to go here and do New Project. And this is the basic layout for Google Flow. Now, if you ever want to check to see how many credits you have, you can go to the top right-hand corner. You can click it, and it's going to tell you exactly how many credits you have. Now, I've got the Ultra plan, so I came off with 25,000 credits, and we really just started this month. So I've got a lot of credits that I can do a lot with, but that just shows you how much you can work with while you're prompting your videos. Down here, this is going to be our main tool area to work in. This is the prompting box, and you get three options to choose from. You've got text to video, you've got frames to video, and you've got ingredients to video, and each three of these does pretty much a wildly different outcome, or has a wildly different outcome, I should say. If we do text to video, which text to video, quite frankly, in my opinion, is unethical because it is using everyone's work that's out there. It did pull from a bunch of different libraries and stock sites. So you could be infringing upon people's rights if you do the text to video. It's fun to play around with, and I'll say that you can come up with some interesting ideas, but I would say use text to video only for doing storyboarding ideas, but nothing for real like commercial grade work where you're going to be putting stuff out there, because you could be subject to copyright violations. That being said, it's still the Wild West of AI. No one's really being sued yet for any of this content because it's hard to tell where this information comes from. So that's something you have to be careful of. But text to video is where you basically just type what you want, and Google Flow is going to come up with its own idea of what that is and rendition of it and output it to you. Next is frames to video, and frames to video gives you a start and an end. So if you have two frames, let's say you've got a person, you want to start in one location and then they end up, over by a car in another location. Well, you put the first frame you want there and then the end frame. And then what Google Flow is going to do is it's going to generate information between there so that it links the first frame to the last frame. And that's pretty fun. And you can choose that down here if you want to. So you would click here and then you would choose from your library. So we could say we start with this shot here where she's laying, and then we would cut to the shot where she has fins. And I'll show you how that works in a second. And then you can also come over here, and this is only under frames to video, is you click this little icon here and it gives you the option to add what kind of camera movement that you want in the film. So if you aren't as literate in the cinematography world, you can use this to really amplify the work that you have, so you can see just how it would act inside the frame. So if you wanted to jib up, jib down, if you wanted to orbit left, orbit right, you get the idea. Truck, tilt, static, everything is here, and it works out really well. And a lot of times, if you are doing this, like dolly in and dolly out are probably the most used ones. So you can see down here, it's got dolly in. And we could do a shot like this, where it starts here, and then we want to end with the mermaid shot. And then I would come down here to the prompt and basically write exactly what I want to have happen. And that's how we do it. Now, up in the top right-hand corner, you've got two other options to choose from. You've got your model that you'll choose from, which, depending on which service you choose, you can go with the VO3 or VO2. So the fast models are for very fast renderings. They're usually lower credits. If you're using the lower base one, this is, I believe, 10 credits still. But if you use VO3 fast, it's still 100 credits. But in this version, because I'm using Ultra, they reduce the credit cost down to just 10, which is really nice. Or you come over here to do quality 3 and quality 2. Although I will say VO3 quality and VO2 quality, VO3 quality only works right now on text to video. So you're not really going to get that usage out of it, unfortunately. But you can use the fast version of VO3, which is in some regards better than VO2. But I've had instances where VO2 is better than VO3. It's just going to take some practice back and forth there to make it work for what you want. And then the last one, we have ingredients to video. And ingredients to video, I think, is probably the most powerful tool that Google Flow has. And it's probably the one that you're going to utilize the most, because this is where you can come in and add the assets that you want to show in the scene. And then it's going to generate around there. So much like we did in our fruit juice commercial, we could come in here and add our 3 fruits in there, and those 3 fruits would appear in the way that we wanted to. Or, we could come in here and say, I want this model with this background up in the mountains, and I also want to see it into a claymation kind of form. So we would get all 3 of those together, and then we would basically allow Google Flow to figure out what that's going to look like. And we could say, let's just try this out. A woman in a bathing suit stands on the edge of a mountaintop and is transformed into a felt covered world. Cinematic, cinematic, ultra realistic. And these are fun words to use. If you use cinematic and ultra realistic, you're going to get a more contrasty, more punched in kind of look, and it's going to look more film like. You could also say something like handheld, natural, and like whimsical. And I'm terrible at spelling. Thank goodness for spell check. All right. So this is, again, a very basic prompt, but we can go ahead and generate that. It's probably going to give me an error saying it can't do VO3 quality, so we do VO3 fast, and it's probably going to say it can't do VO3 fast, so it'll automatically tell you which one that you want to switch to that works for this type, and it's really just VO2 fast. And then we'll click go. And then what we have here is we're going to be seeing that the prompt is going to be rendering, and it's going to give us a percentage, and that percentage could go up very quickly. It could go up very slowly. It really just depends on, 1, your connection to the server, and 2, how fast or how many users are using the service at the moment. I will say late at night, these render in probably just a few seconds, probably anywhere from like 10 to 20 seconds max. And I've seen them take as long as 2 to 3 minutes. And I've had plenty of issues where it fails. So it really comes down to the server load time and how many users are using it. But it's kind of a crapshoot. So it could go really quickly. It could go really slowly. And as you know, as we're standing here, the percentage is going up about 1% every couple seconds, which isn't bad. But you'll see once this actually starts to wrap up that this image will then start to take form, and that's when you know that your image is ready. Now, if we go back to the prompt really quick, on the right-hand side, there's a settings tab, and the settings tab I think is really important. Hey, look, there you go. And you can choose the outputs that you want as well. I would say keep it at 2 outputs, because that's going to give you 2 options while you're doing it. If you do 4 outputs, you're going to do 4 times the amount of credits, and if you're not on the Ultra plan, you could end up spending about 400 credits for 1 iteration. So be careful with that, because that is a lot of money that comes out. If you only have the Pro plan, basic, and that only comes with basically, I think, 50 video generations, you've just used a very large portion in one sitting. So be careful with that. Just keep it at 2. And again, depending on what user and depending on what subscription level you are, just keep it on VO2 fast for the majority of the time. That way you get the best, fastest quality. And then if you really want to upgrade it, you can then choose the VO3 quality or the VO2 quality. But again, the VO3 quality only comes in the text to prompt area. So we'll check these out. We'll see what we got here. That's interesting. Very, well, we can see that it used all of the ingredients in the shot, and I wasn't very descriptive about what we wanted here, but we've got our talent here in a kind of felt-like world with the background that we wanted or that I used. And in this one, it's creating a mix of like realistic simulation, and then it just decided to go somewhere else. So this one didn't work out too well, but it really just comes around with you tinkering around and figuring out what works well. I will say that you want to make sure that all of the ingredients that you're using or all of the assets that you're using are horizontal in nature, because the vertical assets that I found tend to not work as well, and it forces you to crop into a certain section. So let's say you wanted to animate a photo or show a photo coming to life. It's going to be whatever that crop circle is. So if we come here to upload, and I'm going to choose this fox just as an example, you'll see that in the vertical photo, I only have this area to choose from. So if I wanted the full body of the fox, it wouldn't work. So I'm going to reset this and cancel. I'm going to upload a new one, and then I'll choose the horizontal version of the fox that I have. It'll upload it. And now you can see that it's going to give me the full frame that I want. So I'll do crop and save. It's going to sit there for a second, and then it should add it to the rest of my thing. So I've got that now. I've got the ingredients for that. And then I can come here and change it, add whatever I want. Juice bottles and models. You get the gist. For the most part, though, this is where you can also come in, and if you wanted to, you could come up to the right-hand corner, and you could start using this as your actual timeline for developing a story. So I would click Add to Scene. So if we come back and click on Scene Builder at the top left-hand side, we're going to get the option to then scroll through here. And then if we wanted to, we can click on this frame here, and it's going to give us the option to jump to, which is a cut or a cut to, and then or extend the scene. So we could just come here and click Extend Scene, and then say, apple falls from the tree and rolls down the hill. Again, very simple, very straightforward. Then we'll let that go. And I will say, sometimes it hangs on here and you have to be careful. So what I will do is I will copy and paste this. I'll come back up here. I'll click extend. I'll paste it again. And then this is going to basically create a cut to and not a move or extend the scene. It can be an iffy program sometimes, I will say. Flow, when it does work, it works well, and when it doesn't work, it's unfortunate. So we'll sit here and we'll wait for a second to see what happens, and then I'll try to show you how to extend the scene. So in this scene, what we can do is we can play this through, and I actually interjected myself into the scene. But that's not me. But what I did do is I came back through here, and I used my face with the same prompt that I had down here, which this was a text to video, and then this is an ingredients to video. And then I was basically able to come in, add myself into the scene on the AI's body, and then animate myself. Now, I then went through and I decided to extend the scene. So if we go back to Scene Builder here, it should bring up all of the scenes that we had connected to this. Yeah. So this was the first scene, and I'll play through this. Hit play. That was the initial scene, and then I added another scene where I'm like, you know what if I add my cat to the scene? And you'll see what happens. So then it comes from here, and then it's like, oh, hey, look, there's my cat. And I added that ingredient. And then I added a bunch of other people. So you can just keep adding upon scenes, upon scenes, upon scenes as it happens. and it can work out really well. Sometimes it doesn't work out really well, but again, that's half the beauty with using AI, is it's really just random. You can only direct it so far. But as you can see down here, I used a much more detailed description than the previous one that we were working on. You know, ultra realistic front view of a middle-aged white man. Hey, that's me. With an athletic build, stubbled beard, clear skin, brown eyes, wearing a black t-shirt, black base hat, and dark jeans. He's standing in the corner of a dark lounge, lighting the bar is orange and teal. Ultra grungy, dramatic, raw looking. The camera slowly moves along the floor and tilts up as he standoff looking in the distance of the lounge. Yes, that's what we have there. So, not bad. But that's kind of like what you get out of the scene builder. And I will say that you can start creating and linking a bunch of scenes together. So if you don't want to go inside or if you don't want to go inside of DaVinci Resolve, you can just come right back here and really just do it manually. And then you can come over here and you can download by clicking download. It'll download and export the entire version of it. Now, that being said, that's pretty much the gist of Google Flow. Now, if you want to learn more about it, the best way to do it is really just to get into Google Flow and start creating. Let your mind go free, really think about the shot that you want, and kind of come up with a fun idea. Hey, look, there's an apple that's rolling up and down the hill. That's not what I wanted, but it looks neat. We just created art, or AI created art, I should say. Here's another one. That's a big apple. Anyway, that's the gist. If you have any questions, though, always feel free to reach out. I'm going to be utilizing these forms on the website to really communicate with you guys. So if you guys have questions or curious about anything, you can always ask me. I will say too that Google Flow does have Google TV. Or Flow TV, I should say. And if you click on Flow TV, it's a really great place where you can get inspiration and you can kind of learn from what other people are using to prompt with. And it gives them the full prompt view, and you can just kind of like scroll through and see what it is. So, the felt cute kind of phase, little panda bears, and these are text to video. So, theoretically speaking, this is unethical to use this kind of stuff because this is drawing information from their artist, but it looks neat, right? But be cautious and be careful when doing it. But it's a great place to get inspiration. It's a great place to really, see what other people are doing and either expand upon what they're doing or take what they're doing and make a new iteration out of it. But there's so much to explore. There's so much to do. And hopefully this gives you a little more ease into the world of AI and really hopefully it expands upon your creativity. But thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time. Hey everybody, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. In this live demonstration, we're going to be taking still images that we took during a photo shoot and animating those inside of Flow, but also merging them together with other live action footage that we captured to kind of create a seamless hybrid production. And that's really what this is all about. And everything that we're doing here, again, is going to be something that you created. It is authentic. We're not stealing from anyone else. This is your own work, and that's really what is important. I really just want to drive that home, as authenticity is very important. So as you can see here, there's a little bit of behind the scenes of what we were doing. I was shooting with the Sony a7 R5 and the A1 Mark II, both incredible cameras, and both really allow you to capture high resolution imagery at its best. And if you look here inside of Lightroom, I've taken some of the images that we took during the photo shoot, and you just get a really great mix of like very high resolution imagery that you can then take and then compartmentalize. So if you wanted a tight shot of the face, we could use that, or go wider, get a body shot, and vice versa. But I've got this nice little collection of shots, and I should say that I also took video of these shots so we can kind of compare the two for a lot of these shots. But what I really like is the fact that I can take these images here, take them into Google Flow, and then we can create a final product. And that's really what we want to be able to do, is make things that are uniquely ours, but also streamline the process so it's easier, faster, more efficient, and better for your workflow, and just better for your creativity, being able to come up with fun things. And one thing that I really wanted to do, well, I shouldn't say I wanted to do, one of the things that my model, Michaela, wanted to do was have herself turn into a mermaid. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. We didn't have a $50,000 budget to buy a full mermaid suit, get her trained up, and then, throw in VFX to transform her legs into fins. But we do have Google Flow, and I am really excited because I think the final result looks pretty good for about 30 seconds of work, so I can't complain. But what we'll do is we'll open up DaVinci Resolve. I'm going to show you guys exactly what we are going to create, and then we're going to jump into Google Flow. I'm going to show you the process of what I went through to get the images the way they are. But realistically, this is something that you could do in a matter of just a few hours. All right, so we're inside DaVinci Resolve right now. Everything on the timeline here is a mixture of both live action and AI hybrid stuff. And you tell me if you can spot the difference. So here we go. But the idea when we were creating this is to kind of create that seamless blend so that you can have something that is really shot in live action, and then also blending IA together to create something like this. And this shot in particular I really enjoy because it looks so natural. And then we added the motion of her going underwater, flipping around, coming back, and then ultimately we get to the end where we used the drone to capture our still frame and then turned her into a mermaid. And this is all done in just a few minutes. So really excited for this. And again, this is something that wouldn't have to be a final product. It could be a final product. It's something that you could throw out there on Instagram or other social medias, or this could just be like a really great stylized storyboard, realistically, for if you wanted to go out there and create it, by hand with a big budget, and then go that route. But I will say, for the time and the effort that you put into it, you're able to create a stylized version of things that you shot. And so this shot right here will go inside of Lightroom. We've got different types of images here. Actually, let's turn this off. But this is the reference shot that I used to take that shot. And then if we go inside of Google Flow, where is that shot? Lots of shots, lots of shots. So here's that shot, and all I did was went in there and I said, stationary shot, a woman's feet walk forward into a pool in a very delicate manner, a cinematic shot, very simple. And it did pretty much exactly what we wanted it to do. Now, this is the first iteration of it, and you can see it didn't work because she took a step, but she didn't actually take a step into the water. So we took another iteration try, and I think this one is the one that did it. We try it out again. She hesitates for a second, water drips off, and then she's able to go into the water there. But that pretty much encapsulates exactly what we wanted from that shot. And the same thing for like this one. I think, again, it hesitates, and this is why I think it's important, too, that you try to make as many iterations as possible, because you're not always going to get it right, or I should say AI isn't always going to get it right. But the more time you put into it, the more you change the prompt, the better the results are actually going to end up being. And so for like these shots up here where we have her transform into a mermaid, this probably took the most iterations because AI just wasn't getting it correctly. And then literally as we're doing, as this process is happening, Google Flow again updated their system, and now you can actually use VO3 fast models versus VO2 models, so you get better detail, better quality, and all of these are run at VO2 first, and then we come back up here, and then we start using VO3, and that's kind of again how crazy and how fast this technology advances. It advances so quickly that just in a matter of a few days, they're adding new features, new functionalities, giving you more creative latitude to do what you want with different model types. And that's really exciting. But again, that also makes it a challenge because things, when you create videos like this, can change literally overnight. So everything that you can do prior to what we spoke about can still be done, but it just can be done better. Ooh, it adds some. And that wasn't a terrible one, but at the same time, it didn't necessarily have the movement or motion that I wanted. So we'll come back here. I think this is the one I ended up using. Maybe not. But we're getting there. We're able to see that her mermaid tail is coming to fruition, and it's doing a pretty good job with the water. There's a little over contrastedness in the body itself, and that can honestly be fixed in post. But we're still getting really great results, and I think this is the one that I ended up using. Perhaps, yeah, their leg goes down. Nope, not that one. But again, we're still getting a lot of different actions that work really well. And this is where you just have to keep going back to the drawing board. There we go. That's the one right there. But so to create something like this, the prompt was it was pretty simple. The prompt was a woman floats in water with silk white cloth wrapped around her as I put he, but it should be her legs transform from human legs into mermaid tail. That is white and silver and shimmers in the light. The legs transform in a seamless that looks cinematic. I would say it does a pretty good job of that. We can get more descriptive there if we wanted to, but again, this is just kind of showing the simplicity of just how you can use language to create exactly what you want. And if you specify exactly what you want, I'll say 8 times out of 10, the AI is going to give you what you need. But then for something like this shot, I really thought it was a great idea to like expand upon it. So we come in here. That wasn't exactly what I wanted. I wanted her to go underwater, flip underwater, and turn around. So this is, I believe, the one that I wanted. Yeah, so she flipped around there. And what we did from here is we actually extended this scene right here from the shot all the way down here. So we took, I believe it was this one, of her just sitting in water. And again, the prompt for this one, and this is VO2 fast. And honestly, VO2 fast is pretty good, but VO3 is so much better, more realistic. I'd like to actually remake this one in VO3, and that way we can actually see what it looks like. So maybe we'll do that right now, is we'll come back down here. I'm going to change this from VO2 to VO3 fast. It's going to be the exact same prompt. Everything is the same, but let's see how better or different it will look. I'll come back all the way at the top here, and it's going to run through its thing. But one thing I will say is, like, if you notice the detail in the face and the movement and the face, like, it looks so realistic. And I will say that, like, as new models come out, it just gets better and better and better. And you could use these shots. So let's just say you were out there shooting and you weren't necessarily thinking that you were going to put a video together. You're just out there in a really nice photo shoot. But now you're thinking, well, maybe I can market this to someone else or another company or another organization. I could use these still frames as video and then use it for social media marketing. I could use it for a product video marketing outside of social media, however you want to look at it. But these are just kind of the avenues you can take. And everything in the scene is yours. The lighting is yours. The model is yours. The creativity and the color grading is yours. And really what you're doing with the AI is just bringing that scene to life. And I think that's really one of the fundamental aspects of why I enjoy using AI in this manner rather than having AI come up with something randomly generated through its text to prompt, is because everything that you're seeing in the frame is something that you captured. You were there in the moment capturing it. And then you're really just bringing it to life and taking your creativity to another level and articulating what you wanted to see in the scene if it were actually like a live action scene. So this is just the best part of the job, is being able to go do everything you would normally do in post-production with the color grading, adjusting tones, setting it so that it's yours and your stylistic choice, and then coming back and making it something even better inside of AI. And that's really what it's all about. Smile out of her. And one thing I'll show you too is if we come back in here and we go back into post-production, and what I did when we did generate this too is, I really had an emphasis on saying like basically slow motion and high speed footage. That way it creates that kind of ethereal, kind of cinematic feel to it. But what we can do is come back here, add a speed ramp to it, and I'll come over here, retime controls. And if you increase the speed, either 150 or 200%, we'll try 150 first, you'll see that it becomes much more realistic and much more natural, as if the water was really rippling around her at real time. Not too shabby, right? And that's really what we're here to do, is to create multitudes of different types of content. So, we go from slow motion to live action, full speed, and it gives that appearance. And like the detail is still really impressive. This is a 1080p timeline, but you're capturing the emotion of her face. She's blinking, she's going underwater, she's creating, depth by diving underwater. The ripples on the water are affected by the way a real person would dive underwater. It's incredible. But think about this the next time you go out there, because then you can kind of go back and rethink how you do photo shoots. You could have a photo shoot in mind where you're thinking in a still photography kind of way, but you could also then come back from a cinematography viewpoint and then merge the two together. So there you're creating two platforms basically out of one use. So that again is something that I think is really exciting and could be really helpful for a lot of photographers out there that maybe don't have the ability to shoot video, or they don't know the cinematography as well, or they don't own thousands of dollars worth of motion control devices. This kind of gives you that ability to bridge that gap, and either A, create something, or B, show something that you can then later create in real life. And there's always multiple avenues that you can take to create. And I think this is just one way to help amplify what you're doing as a photographer and cinematographer. But let's go back to Google Flow, see how our new scene took place. And so this is again with VO3 versus VO2. Well, they added a lot more motion to it, but you can actually see it's way more contrasty and way more kind of plasticky looking. I actually enjoyed the VO2 version because it kept the contrast more similar to what I shot it as. Actually, it's exactly as I shot it, where VO3 is kind of taking it past that to like an ultra shoot. Oh, everybody, this is Phil. Say hi, Phil. He's going to be joining us in the next session for sure. Stay down there, buddy. Let's see what the other iteration looks like. All right, it's not bad, but what I don't like about it is that it looks more plasticky now. So we went away from the realistic graded kind of shot that I had created, and now it's more plastic looking. So sometimes VO3 isn't the best, but that just goes to show sometimes you have to go back, retry it, and do it again. But since VO3 is basically free for Ultra users, I'm going to go back and try this again. So I'm not wasting any credits here. Or actually I should say I'm wasting 10 credits, but I'm not wasting 100 credits that you normally would. So we'll retry this prompt again. So we're doing ultra cinematic, ultra realistic, low contrast. Low contrast. Okay. All right, let's try that. Running on credits. So we'll see how this turns out. But honestly, this is really just kind of showcasing what you can do with still images. And it's exciting because, again, for like something like this, I was able to use my Mavic 4 Pro. I took it out there. I got some incredible video of that, and I also got some incredible still images. But I was able to take and pull still images from the video that I actually captured, and then transmuted it into this. And Um, now the lighting is a little wonky on that. She wouldn't have light rays over top of her, so that's something you have to like think about. But it's just really interesting at the end of the day to be able to, say, hey, I want this person to have a mermaid's tail after, 4 or 5 seconds. And pretty cool how technology is. And there you have it. But that's the gist of it as it stands now. So we can come back in here. I can show you that we have AI shot, a real shot, a real shot, AI shot, and then this is all AI as well, transforming in there. But you're able to merge all of those together to create a finished package, or at least something that could be used for a finished package. But pretty exciting stuff. All right, that'll wrap it up for this time. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is our first updated module. What we're going to be doing is discussing Sora 2 today, and I'm kind of excited about it because Sora 2 is one of those AI video generated programs that's a little different from the other ones. And the reason what makes it so different is because it's more about cell phone shot videos, but what really is great about it, though, is that you can use it for storyboarding and really just using simple sentence structure to create entire scenes. And it's really good for just kind of exploring the ideas that are out there. This by no means is an ethical form of AI. In fact, it's probably the exact opposite. In the beginning, when Sora 2 first came out, you were able to upload your own image. You could use yourself and your likeness, but you can't even do that anymore. You can only use characters. So that's kind of a big problem. But it's great for just generating shot ideas and storyboarding. So I'm going to show you a little bit about that right now. So if you look inside of Sora, you can see that the majority of the videos that pop up are those that look like they might have been shot on a cell phone or for social media. And that's pretty much what Sora is really all about. It's kind of creating these wild situations that would probably never happen, but it does it in a very realistic way. And I'll say for the most part, it gets it right about 85 to 90% of the time. But there are some instances, and I'll show you why, that there's some issues with the video, but it actually works out pretty well. But when I first started doing this, I actually used my cat as a test subject, and it worked out really well. So here's my cat, Phil, and I basically wrote a prompt saying that I wanted him to put on a little show for us and do a little tap dance. That's what Sora gave us.
Slip on. Look who's waking up from a sleepy little nap, smooth grey fur and a confident clap. Slip on the brim, tilt it just so he's ready for the spotlight. Look.
Yeah, so that happened. It does a really good job of cutting up the scenes from, a wide, medium, tight, so forth and so forth, but giving you the actual scene selection as you do it. And the prompt for this one, I'm going to mute this, says cat gets up, and this is the original photo, by the way. It was just a headshot of him laying on top of a desk. And then I said, cat gets up, puts on a black top hat, and then starts dancing on top of a bookshelf as a spotlight shines on him as if he were in a theater. And Sora added in the music. Sora added in the vocals. And honestly, it did a fantastic job at it. But for me personally, this isn't ethical, so I wouldn't put this content out. And it's a reason why this program is still in beta. If you are watching this, Sora 2 might actually be out of beta now. It might be a full paid program. But if you are lucky enough to get keys, and I might be putting 4 keys up somewhere randomly in this video, so keep watching. You might get a chance to do it yourself. But I will say, if you do get one of those keys, please pass it forward, because every key that you get 4 keys as well. So it kind of creates this snowball effect. So if you do get the key and you get lucky enough to enter it, please take those other keys that you're going to get and give them back to the community. That way we know that they're being used and they're being utilized for fun, All right. So starting off with the cat, it was a great idea because I like using my cat. He's a great subject. And I think Sora did a great job putting that together. But we're going to go back now and talk more about creating structure within, like, let's say a scene that you want to make, and kind of go from there. But there's all these different examples, and what I will say Sora does best at is creating these viral video type of looks. I created one talking about a computer that knew he was alive and wanted to get away. Here's an example of that.
Useful! You think I'm just a box of circuits? I never wanted this!
Oh my god!
I feel every click, every drag! I stayed silent. I stayed useful! But I'm alive! I'm real, and I'm done being your machine! You think I'm...
And there you go. This was a really simple prompt. A desktop computer comes to life and starts to destroy the office that it used to sit in, saying it never wanted to be a computer and that it's real and has feelings. And this is what it generated. Now, I didn't say, you know, a photorealistic computer or anything like that, so it kind of took its own liberty to create an animated style. But this could be used very easily for a storyboard and something that would allow you to show your potential client exactly what you could do, but do it in obviously a real fashion or a real way, utilizing traditional cinematography. But again, it's a great way to create examples. So when we talk about creating scenes for shows or movies or commercials, I created this little 5-shot sequence of a photographer or a group of photographers as if they were in a nature video, but they're the subject and one of them loses their lens cap. And again, simple sentence structure, and it delivers, honestly, pretty good stuff.
As the photographer, welcome. Watch as the photographer loses his mind trying to find his lens cap.
Where'd it go? It was right here! Check the club by your knee!
I can't see it.
Maybe got it! Ha!
Crisis averted. Welcome.
Pretty good. 10 seconds, and it really took everything that I said. I said a group of photographers is out in a meadow as if they're on a nature documentary, and it's about one of them, but one of them loses their lens cap and everyone starts freaking out. The narrator explains, watch as the photographer loses his mind trying to find his lens cap. Now, it added in the extra voices of the characters, which I'm fine with, but that just kind of shows you the liberty that the AI is taking when creating these types of videos. And I love it because you could take this, again, from a storyboard perspective and use this to say, hey, we can do this out in the real world, get real cinematographers out there, shoot this in a live action format, and this is what you could get. So this is why I think Sora is so popular with storyboarding, because otherwise there's really no ethical use to this. I wouldn't be putting this kind of content out there just because, again, I don't think that it's obviously generating off of someone else's material. I wouldn't want that as a creative, and I don't think you want that either. But it's great for creating and generating ideas. And I will say a lot of the times the biggest comment that I get from people is that they don't know how to be creative. And that seems to be one of those things where people are relying upon AI to be creative, when really it's you as the storyteller, as the creative, to have those inputs and bring those to life. So really it comes, for me personally, on past experiences, remembering my childhood. I feel like as children, we were able to explore more of our mindset and really go out there and create these outlandish things. But a lot of adults, unfortunately, kind of lack that now, and they lack that mischievousness of understanding, well, that what kind of wonderment they can create out of their own minds, whether you're playing with dolls or action figures and creating scenarios. It's kind of like that, but you're using it in a new modern form, and that's where I think Sora really comes into. So we could create a template using a 5-shot sequence from this. Maybe you want to create a horror movie. I did one about a woman that has been sitting in a kitchen for 50 years waiting for her husband to come home, and it did a pretty good job. Check it out.
I've been waiting for you all these years.
Very simple, but it gives you a nice little 4 or 5-shot sequence. You could, again, replicate this, and I think that's the beauty behind using Sora. And the quality, unfortunately, in Sora is like 480p, so it's pretty low on the quality list. And if we do watch this again, I'm going to mute it. You can see that there's variations in the outfit and the face, as if it's almost painfully like, because it couldn't actually get a real-life version, which is weird because I feel like this program, you either get a really great rendering of people or you get a really bad rendering of people. And this I would kind of constitute as a very, not maybe bad, but very stylistic, in the sense that it's more painterly than it is realistic. And that's something that you can go back and really drive forward. What I will say, though, is that using Sora 2 is a great way to test your prompts out before going to use something like VO3 or Runway ML. You can take your prompts here, see what they generate, see what kind of language you want to use, and then you just keep adding on to that and adding those details to make your prompts even better. So really, Sora 2 is just great for prompt making and storyboarding, and I really enjoy just kind of using it as a creative tool to think about all the things that I can, concoct in my own head, and then put it forth in words and prompts. I'm going to show you a couple more examples, but I will say that if you are interested in it, you can get on the beta. Again, I'm going to be releasing 4 keys, maybe right now. Here are the 4 keys. There you go. You watched it long enough. But take these keys, use them first come, first serve. But again, if you get a key, please give back to the community. You're going to get 4 other keys yourself, so please put those back. If there's a chat somewhere or a community member that's looking for them, maybe give them a key. And that way we just snowball this into a really fun community where everybody gets to use these tools. Again, this is in beta right now. You could be watching this and it could be released from beta. It could be a paid subscription, but for right now it is free and you can generate unlimited amounts. But really there's no real professional use for this aside from doing, at home or in office storyboarding and just sentence structures and prompting. But it is a great tool for that, and I really do like that. I'll show you a few more. I decided to do some cat herding. And it's kind of interesting.
Wow, they're so majestic. Sure are.
And again, this is just a simple one. A camera follows a herd of wild cats as they roam the open plains of Montana as if they were horses. The camera pans over to a couple of cowboys that say, "Wow, they're so majestic." And it worked. And this is another great opportunity too, that you're kind of creating these faux characters up, so you can put in dialogue, you can put in words, you can put in a whole conversation, you can do back and forth. So if you wanted to use this for your storyboard for that kind of purpose, I think that's where Sora really shines. And again, it's interesting. Again, you can't use it, but you can create some fun compositions. You will find that there's instances where the videos definitely don't necessarily match the ideas that you're coming up with, or that there's just a lot of errors. And this one in particular, I wanted a cat drinking coffee in the morning and going meow as if he wasn't supposed to be drinking coffee, but the cup just kind of floats in the air. Doesn't do a great job.
What the actual hell, Phil? Save me some too.
So interesting, but again, not exactly what I wanted. I said, camera follows a man walking into his kitchen to find a Russian blue cat sitting at his dinner table as if he's a human sipping on a cup of coffee, and the cat says meow, and the man says, "What the actual hell, Phil? Save me some too." I think if the cup actually had been attached to the hand and it was a little more photorealistic, I think this would have been a great example of, a fun little 10-second skit. But I think there's still some development that needs to happen so that those types of mismatching visuals don't occur very often, but they do occur very often.
That's something.
Here's another one about a black.
Huh. Well, that's something.
But I do love that Sora adds in all of the natural background sounds, music, and the dialogue. So it really gives you a really fun perspective of, what's possible to create in the real world using live action actors as well as, real cameras and stuff. But I think did a great job. Again, here's the prompt for that. It says, a man walks out of his home to get the newspaper, but when he looks up, he sees a giant black hole that's sucking up trees, buildings, and people. He shrugs it off and goes back inside. Very cinematic. I think it did a great job doing that. So you can't complain there. And then last but not least, if you are looking to make, fake viral videos, good opportunity to use that. I did one about, Black Friday not being about tech anymore, more about being food because it's so unaffordable, at least here in the U.S. So check this out.
Got it. Hold please.
Nothing is affordable anymore thanks to billionaires.
He's not wrong.
Got it.
A little jab there at the billionaires, but at the same time, I think it does a pretty good job of depicting, what's actually happening in today's society. So this is a way that you can start telling stories. But again, it's not very ethical. In fact, it's not ethical at all. All of these characters are probably being generated off of other real pictures. I don't like that. But if you are, and when you are able to upload your own photos, because right now you can't do any photos of anyone but the ones that they have on their site, You used to be able to put up your own photos, but you can't do that anymore. So when they add that feature back in and they can make it more refined so that you can actually use your own work and your own people and your own characters, creating your kind of your own data sets, that's where I think story will become more ethical if you wanted to use it outside of, say, storyboarding or just concept development. But that's where we are. So that'll do it for this update. Join us next time for another update. And thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.